going?
Yep.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Frequently Asked Questions Friday. It's Friday, February 9th. I'm Greg Herrman, and I have with me today Jordan Jackson, one of the attorneys that works for Herrman Herrman. You want to say hi to
Hi,
everybody?
guys. My name is Jordan Jackson. I'm one of the associate attorneys here at Herrman Herrman. I work remotely out of San Antonio.
Okay. And so I know you're kind of soft-spoken a little bit. We have to kind of talk up a little bit loud because the equipment, for some reason, people have a hard time hearing us. So if you can, remember, just kind of talk loud.
Okay.
You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Jordan?
So I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas. I went to high school at Converse Judson. Went to Baylor for undergrad. Go Bears. I went to St. Mary's in San Antonio for law school. Ever since I got past the bar, I've been doing personal injury work, and I feel like this is kind of home for me.
And when was it you passed the bar?
2013.
Okay. All right. And so I assume all your family's in San Antonio also?
For the most part, all my family is in San Antonio. A little bit of outside Seguin area, and then everybody else from Chicago or DC.
Chicago or DC? All right. Okay. And how long have you been over here at Herrman Herrman?
Since August of 2017.
Okay. So I understand the topic you wanted to talk about today was insurance coverage. Is that right?
Yes. So
very exciting.
very exciting news.
But I know you're going to make it exciting for us, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So since I've been doing this type of work, the one thing the question I constantly get from new clients is, or statement, they've been involved in an accident. Mm-hmm. We try to walk through the steps with them, and they say, "But I have full coverage." Well, that's great. Now we can get your car fixed. But what does that mean? And most people don't know what that means. Okay. I didn't know what it means until I worked at USAA. And they go through coverages with you. And they explain to you full coverage means you have comprehensive and collision coverage. Comprehensive is if you hit a guardrail or a deer runs out, you can get your car fixed. Collision, kind of self-explanatory. You get in a car accident, regardless of fault, you can get your car fixed. But what do you do if you're injured?
Right. And full coverage would also mean you have liability coverage. So
as well. So
if you hurt somebody else, your policy will pay them. And yes. If you get sued, then the insurance company will defend you.
Yes. Right. But what do you do if you get hit and you're injured? Okay.
So let me just stop you for a second. So we just got to acknowledge that you did work for the dark side there for a while. Then when you worked for USAA, you're on the insurance company side.
Yes.
What advantages you think that gave you, the fact that you worked for an insurance company first?
So, and I wasn't an adjuster, so I don't want any of my clients to be upset about that. But yeah. I basically I was the person telling you about your coverages. So I was kind of like your agent. So basically, I let you know, this is how much coverage you have. This is how much liability coverage you have. Do you think maybe you need to protect yourself a little bit more? But the one thing that I found out through working there is you need to have underinsured, uninsured, and PIP. Preferably PIP over MedPay. In that instance. So if you do get hit by someone that doesn't have car insurance, you're protected with your uninsured. Or if you get hit by someone and you are drastically injured and they don't have enough coverage, you have underinsured to protect yourself as well. Also, you might have questions about, well, I had to miss work right away. That's kind of where your personal injury protection steps in for your lost wages in the beginning and for your initial hospital bills or EMS bills.
Okay. So let's just kind of go back through those again. Now, what if somebody has health insurance, let's say? Would they need all these coverages?
I would still recommend having those coverages because your health insurance could say, sorry, that person that hit you is responsible and we're secondary. We hear that a lot. Oh. We're the secondary people to pay. And also, they could pay your initial hospital bill. They want their money back.
Right. They have a right to subrogation, which we'll get to too. I know some insurance companies used to say, look, we just exclude car wrecks. We just don't pay for them because everybody's supposed to have insurance. Humana used to do that. I had I had a secretary that was hurt pretty bad one time in a car accident, and she tried to use her Humana health insurance. Now, this was years ago. I'm not sure what they do now, but they just said, you know, it's excluded from the policy. Read your policy. We just don't cover it. Sorry.
That's not uncommon. I've heard that a lot. I've heard that where doctors don't want to see their patients because you were involved in an auto accident.
Right.
Why not? A number of reasons. One of the myriad of reasons is your health insurance isn't going to pay for it. So they're fearful about them getting paid.
Okay, so let's just go through them one at a time. Okay, the first one is uninsured motorists. So explain exactly what uninsured motorist is.
Uninsured motorist is when you get hit by someone who does not have car insurance. Your car insurance will step in and provide bodily injury coverage for you in the event you are injured in an accident.
Okay. And then what is underinsured insurance?
Underinsured motorist is in the event you were involved in an accident and your injuries max out the amount of liability coverage that the person that hit you has.
All right. And what is personal injury protection, or PIP?
Personal injury protection is something that in Texas you have to opt out of. So theoretically, we all have it, and we make the decision to not have it. But it's basically either $2,500, $5,000, kind of works in those tiers, and it's no fault coverage that covers the first round of your medical expenses.
Up to those limits.
Up to those limits.
Okay. And what is MedPay?
MedPay is something that you can have that works similar to PIP. It's no fault coverage, but if you recover from another source, you have to reimburse your insurance company the medical payments they issued out. And MedPay is short for MedPay. MedPay is short for medical payments.
What if that other source that you recover from is your own uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage?
You can negotiate with your insurance company for them to allow you to keep your medical payments or your MedPay, but they have to evaluate your claim or your injuries in excess of the amount that they've given you.
So in other words, they get like a credit or something for the MedPay.
An offset is the word they love to use.
Okay. All right, and then lastly, we mentioned subrogation. Now that's a big word and sounds like it's going to be real confusing, but can you make subrogation, or the concept of subrogation, simple for everybody?
It's kind of like we're in a law school exam, but so your health insurance, along with a number of other things, can have what's called a subrogation interest in your claim. That basically means that they are inserting themselves that they have to be repaid in the event that you recover, in smaller terms.
Are there any defenses to this right of subrogation of theirs?
There's a couple. You can get into the weeds of it. If you have an ERISA plan, an employment funded plan or health insurance, you could make the argument that if employee funds weren't used to pay for your medical treatment, if they have a policy or an insurance policy to insure against that insurance, then you can argue you're not entitled to reimbursement automatically because you didn't use the employee retirement funds in order to pay for this. So essentially ERISA said the reason we repay ERISA is because employee funds were used to pay your insurance. But if you didn't use and that's why we protect it. That's why it's so protected. If we didn't do that, then you don't get that level of protection. That's a lot of paperwork. That's a lot of reading. That's going in depth, and that's a lot of fights. You're escalating that up the chain.
So it may be worth it on bigger cases, but not the smaller ones.
Yes. The reason I've gotten into the weeds of this is because I have had somebody who had millions of dollars worth of injuries, and we were trying to get. She needed further surgeries. We were trying to get more money in her pocket for those future surgeries. You can fight a subrogation lien. There's arguments out there from the Supreme Court, going all the way up to the federal Supreme Court, saying whether or not there's any remedy for you not paying a subrogation lien or somebody's interest in your claim. The Supreme Court kind of says there's no remedy in that. So if you don't pay it, it's kind of out there, but it's whether or not you want to err on the side of caution. Sometimes you should probably pay it, especially if it's very nominal. But if you have something with Medicare or Medicaid, that's protected. Tax dollars are being used. We have to reimburse them.
So Medicare and Medicaid have essentially a lien.
Yes. they have a lien, not a subrogation interest. The subrogation interest is something that is contractually written into your health insurance policy that no one reads when they sign up for open enrollment or their health insurance. So a lien is something that, especially with Medicare, it's automatically in place. There's also such things as hospital liens. So if you go for treatment within 72 hours of your auto accident, the hospital could theoretically file a lien against your claim. That protects their interests and ensuring that they're repaid.
If Medicare or Medicaid pays, can you still negotiate with them over the amount of their subrogation or over the amount of their lien?
You can. That's always a possibility. You can argue about certain things that they paid for. For instance, if you got into an accident and you also went in and said, hey, I had a cold, and they ran some type of flu test, which is very common down here in South Texas right now. Mm-hmm. Guess what? We don't have to reimburse them for the flu test. You can also make an argument that, if it's a very big hospital lien or a very big Medicare lien, you can say, this is how much I have available in funds as far as recovery in the instance that my client's insurance agent didn't explain uninsured and underinsured motorists to them, and now they have a big bill. Medicare has a big bill or a big lien. You got to take a third. It's kind of one of the things we come to them with. You have to reduce your medical bill. You have to reduce this lien down so we can try to pay everyone else.
All right. What about if an insurance company claims they're an ERISA? Can you make them prove it?
Yes. You can ask for it's certain documents that they have to produce in order to prove up that they are an ERISA plan.
Have you ever seen one be able to prove they're an ERISA plan?
Yes.
Have you really?
Yes.
I've never seen one. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've been asking to prove it for 30 years, and they send me a bunch of stuff, but it's not the right stuff. I've never had one prove it yet.
Going off of, I was told the same thing, the same memorable car accident I represented a minor for. I thought the same thing. I was like, there's no way they can prove up that this is an ERISA plan. We asked for the documents, and normally they send you stacks and stacks of pages.
Yeah.
This was 2 pages they sent over, so that let me know the first thing. They knew exactly what I was talking about, and it was exactly what we needed. So I was like, okay.
That sounds like they sent you the SPD, the summary plan description.
We went through that, and then they sent me the stacks of paperwork, and then they pointed me to the right direction of where we needed to be for that. And I had several bosses review that because I didn't think, like Greg said, it's not very common.
Yeah, I've never seen them be able to prove it yet. They always they threaten to come down, and they threaten to go to the hearing, and they're going to ask for attorney fees and and then they call you at the last second and go, you know what, will you take? And so, but anyway, all right. And on just regular subrogation, if it's not ERISA and it's not Medicare or Medicaid, do you have any defense to just a regular subrogation?
I would say, did they put you on notice? That's kind of where I stand. Did they let you know that you have to reimburse them? The other thing that I talk to my clients about, and this is for your client to make the decision, and I always go and tell them this is what I would do and this is my legal advice, but I have had situations where I've had clients say, because if you don't repay your subrogation interest with your health insurance, they could potentially pull coverage. But how often are we during open enrollment getting new insurance companies? Occasionally you have 1 year, you might have Humana. The next year you might have United Healthcare. Then you might have Blue Cross Blue Shield. So then the question becomes, well, if you got in an accident in 2017, in August of 2017, for instance, and now it's December of 2017, do you have the same insurance company? Because I know our open enrollment has happened during that portion of time. Do you want to reimburse them? I've had clients tell me no because that's not my health insurance company anymore. So.
Yeah, you don't care if they yank your coverage.
There's no coverage for them to yank.
What about, since they just have an equitable right of subrogation, don't they have to prove that you've been made whole before you got to reimburse them?
That's a good question. You can make the argument that I still have future medical bills that need to be paid. I still have future coverage, future treatment that I'll need. So I still need these funds for X, Y, and Z. the other thing is once you cut it off with treatment, or once you cut it off with the auto accident claim, you can always take that step forward and then go back and continue treating through your health insurance as well. And that subrogation interest has ended because you have resolved your personal injury claim.
Okay. All right. We've probably exhausted the subrogation subject.
It's controversial around here, guys.
All right. Any other issues on insurance that you wish to talk about?
The only other thing I would say is make sure you have the amount of coverage that fits you. I see a lot of times where we get our clients' deck pages and they'll have $100,000 in coverage, or they have an excessive amount of coverage and they don't have anything that they're protecting, but then they also aren't protecting themselves. Now, a lot of times when you buy insurance, it's if you want to have $100,000 in UM or UIM, then you need to have comparable coverage and liability. But I've also seen where our clients are out here, if they ever hit someone, that person's protected, but they're not protecting themselves.
Yeah.
Definitely need to protect yourself. Call your insurance company, ask questions. But if you're involved in an accident, you don't have to go at this alone. You can call us. We're here to help you.
So if you're not worth $100,000, you probably don't need to be protected up to $100,000. It doesn't matter whether somebody sues you for $10 million or not. They're not going to get. The worst they could get is your policy plus what you're worth. And if you're not worth $100,000, you probably don't need $100,000. But you may want to protect yourself up to $100,000 or more in case somebody hurts you really bad and they only have like a $30,000 policy.
Exactly. State minimums in the state of Texas is $30,000. It varies per state, but you might get hit by somebody that only has a state minimum, which is a strong majority of people. So you want to make sure you protect yourself, but at the same time, if you hit someone, what are you protecting yourself against? The Homestead Act covers a lot. They can't take your home. They can't take your house. We can't take people's homes. We can't take their cars. We can't take their retirement accounts. So Texas protects a lot of the individual's personal assets. So it's a question of what do you feel comfortable with in the event you're involved in an accident, and making sure your coverages are comparable to protect yourself. And then also your insurance agent or company might say that you need to have comparable coverage in order to do this.
Yeah, that's just part of their rules. But
that's an internal thing.
But better to worry about yourself and protecting you against other idiots than worrying about covering other people.
I would always say protect yourself, because you could get hit by somebody that doesn't have anything. So they weren't looking out for you. You need to look out for yourself. So
make sure you got high limits on your UM, your UIM, and your PIP.
Yes. Yes, get as much PIP as you can. What would my argument would be? I mean, but if I hit someone personally, they can have all of my student loan debt. I'll share it with them. That's the only asset I have. But it's free. You guys, I'll share it. I'll write you an IOU.
All right. Okay, well, I think we're a little bit over time, but that's okay. Thanks everybody for tuning in again, and we'll see you next Friday. If anybody has any questions about any of this, they can send me an email or send Jordan an email, and we can answer any further questions about insurance or UM, PEP, MedPay, or I know your favorite subject is subrogation. So, got any questions about ERISA subrogations, notice letters, then send us an email or send us a question through Facebook. So, Jordan, thanks again for coming to FAQ Friday, and we'll see you guys next week, same time, same channel.